This is the ultimate Offset 101. And I say ultimate because it's not just me that you're hearing from. I've lined up an amazing expert panel that combined has over 100 years of experience when it comes to smoking on an offset style grill, and have generated videos on YouTube with over millions of views. And so I'll tell you a little bit more about the expert panel, but I call this a 101 just as much for me as it is for maybe some of you, because despite after a decade of live fire cooking, grilling, and smoking on almost everything under the sun, you name it, whether it's a Weber kettle to green eggs, Kamado Joes, pellet grills, solo stoves, live fire camp cookouts, you name it. I've done it all except go start to finish on a cook of my own on an offset style grill. And so this prompts a couple questions for me, like, do any of those experiences and live fire control and tips and techniques that I have apply directly to an offset, or we're going to need to adapt and develop some new muscles and skills here? Like many of you, I joined the waitlist for a Franklin pit when it first came out, but over a year later and no such luck, I found an amazing offset smoker. It's made by Smoke North. It's called the Carlisle, and I can't wait to tell you even more about it in future videos. So make sure, if you want to see that, hit the subscribe button to be alerted when they come out. But what I wanted to share right now is my first few impressions of getting to play with this over a couple weekends and early cooks. I'm trying so hard not to get ahead of you so that I make sure I record the good, the bad, and the ugly so you get the true, authentic experience. But what I can already just say is there is something here to the offset style smoker that you just don't get with any other grill, whether it's breaking down your wood to building your fire, getting that clean blue smoke rolling. This has almost got like a romantic element. Is it more involving than almost anything else? Absolutely. Is it worth it? Absolutely. And so to make sure that we set up, and before we get too far, we do everything taking the best practices and tips and tricks in mind, let me introduce you to the expert panel so we can make sure we're starting off down the right path. So I'll be sure to link to all these fine gentlemen in the description below, just in case there's a chance you haven't seen them or their channel before. But first up for today is Troy from T. Roy Cooks. I've been a fan of Troy and his channel for a long time, so absolutely thrilled that he was able to lend some expertise. He's done a video on offset fire management with over 3 million views on YouTube. So Troy, over to you.
James, congratulations on the offset, man. I can't be more happy for you. I know you're gonna love it. Remember, the more you cook on it, the better the food tastes. So you cook on that baby all the time. Now, I'm looking forward to seeing the videos you put out cooking on that offset, but I'm also looking forward to seeing you compare the flavor of barbecue off of an offset, comparing it to your Kamado type cookers, and see the difference. I bet you're gonna be going, wow, I should have had an offset a long time ago. Yeah, it's gonna be fine, man. One tip I can give you, one thing I learned over the years is to help prevent you from getting that dirty white smoke, which will make your meat bitter if you get too much of that white smoke in your chamber, for your cooking chamber. What you can do is preheat your wood splits. You know, once you get your bed of coals going and you got some wood and burning in there and stuff, what I like to do is take and just shove all the coals and wood to one side on the inside of my firebox and lay a split on the other inside of my firebox, on the other side. That'll warm it up, and then you can put it on your fire when you need to, and it will immediately ignite, which will help keep you from getting all that puffy white smoke that you don't want on an offset. Hope that helps, and thanks for letting me join you on this little collab, and congratulations again, James. Looking forward to the videos, man. Cheers to you, brother.
Next up is Steve from Trails BBQ. I've been a big fan of Steve's content, not only because he's a fellow Canuck and likes to grill in these crazy sub-zero temperatures year round, but he's got some amazing offset fire management setup tips and tricks. So Steve, over to you.
Hi James, Steve here from Trails BBQ. My #1 tip for using an offset smoker for a beginner is to always measure your temperature at grate level right before the heat hits the meat. And what that means on an offset smoker, especially your smoker, is that the heat is going to come from the firebox. It's going to go up once it gets past that baffle plate or that throat plate. It's going to go across the top of the cooking chamber, and then it's going to hit the meat from above directly before it exits the collector or the exhaust. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have your probe, if it's a meter, let's say, sticking out of your brisket right there, right where the heat is about to hit the point muscle. Because if you're measuring the temperature back here or maybe up here on a dome thermometer, that's going to give you a reading that might be wildly different than the temperature right where the heat hits the meat. So have that meter probe sticking right out, or have an ambient temperature probe on whatever device you use right next to the meat, whether it's brisket, ribs, pork butt, anything like that. The other thing is make sure your remote probe is capable of sending a graph type reading to your phone so you can always see when that temperature starts dipping. You can look at it while you're doing dad stuff. Maybe you're making dinner or you're out mowing the lawn or something like that, or shoveling snow, because I know you live in Canada. And you can just look at your phone and you can see when that graph starts going down, then you know you need to go add that split of wood. I like to keep all my wood at a consistent moisture content of 10 to 15%. I sacrifice a little bit of the flavor of the 20% moisture content wood by having it a little bit lower, but I like that lower moisture content because it helps me burn a more consistent fire in my smaller, cheaper offset smoker. So thanks so much, James, for having me on your channel, and good luck in your offset journeys. Happy smoking.
Hey guys, I'll get you back to today's video in just a moment, but I wanted to take a minute to thank Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. And you guys in Skillshare actually have a bit more in common than you might think at first glance. Since when I started this channel, I had no experience with editing videos, recording, audio, lighting, or any of that. And it was actually a couple suggestions in the comments where you said I should check out some classes on Skillshare. So with your suggestions, I was armed with a list of skills that I wanted to upskill, including lighting, sound design, and specifically video editing. And it's been a part of the channel for a little while now, but believe it or not, one of the biggest things I could not for the life of me figure out early on is green screen elements, which is how, including in today's video, I add those on-screen graphics. So I went into Skillshare, checked out the video and photography section, typed in iMovie, which was what I was using early on to edit my videos, and I was able to find some resources specific to iMovie, video editing, as well as those green screen elements, which is how I've been able to add all of those particular elements to videos over the last year. Do you have a specific skill that you're looking to up-level? Skillshare is the perfect place to start. You'll find classes, whether it's what I'm interested in, film and photography, to graphic design, illustrating, business, to things even like lifestyle, where I found my next course. As I started to browse that section and type in things like knife skills, I came across a great class on knife sharpening, which I hope to be able to share in future videos, some improved skills when it comes to handling my knives. As a thank you, the first 1,000 people to check out the link below will receive a 1-month free trial to Skillshare. Be sure to check that out after today's video. Now back to the action. Next up is Mike Akuri. Now Mike's not on YouTube, but he is on Instagram, and this is one of the first places I ever saw a foil boat in action, and he's the author of the Brisket Gospel. So Mike, over to you with some brisket tips on an offset smoker.
Hey James, congratulations on the new offset smoker. So my tip for you has to do with cooking brisket. Typically, you'd always have the point end of the brisket, which is the fattier end, facing the firebox. And that's certainly true with any backyard offset cooker. However, I'm going to advise that you rotate that brisket once you wrap. So whether you wrap it in butcher paper, you wrap it in foil, you boat it, you want to have that flat now facing the fire. If you don't, you run the risk of overcooking the point and not cooking the flat enough.
Next up is Bradley from Chuds BBQ. Now, I've been a huge fan of Bradley's channel ever since I discovered it more than a year ago. Whether it's foil boat or the use of Lowry's in his rubs, these have made a game changer. So Bradley, I'd say there's a snake in my boot, but it's clearly frozen since it's the middle of winter. So over to you for some tips and tricks on an offset.
James, I hear you're moving up to an offset. Very exciting news. Welcome to the Offset Club. Having a stick burner is a lot of fun. And one thing I often tell people is that if you learned how to cook a brisket, a rack of ribs, or anything for that matter, on a kettle or a ceramic grill or anything like that, it's a lot like high altitude training. You don't have fire access, there's a lot of baffles involved, you're really close to the fire, so there's a whole bunch of tricks involved trying to keep a low consistent temperature without flare-ups. So by the time you finally move on up to an offset, it's gonna be a breeze. So best of luck to you. I can't wait to see your first foil boat brisket. And the main rule with offsets is, if you're looking, you ain't cooking. Happy smoking.
And last but not least is Jeremy from Mad Scientist BBQ. I've learned a ton and enjoyed the scientific approach that Jeremy takes to all of his cooks and tips and technique videos. So Jeremy, over to you to close us off.
Hey Smokin' Dad BBQ, congratulations on getting an offset smoker. How does it feel to become a mature, seasoned pitmaster? No, I don't want to say that. I want to dog the guy in the congratulations thing. Congratulations, Smokin' Dad BBQ, on getting your first offset smoker. It warms my heart to see barbecue folks on YouTube getting offset smokers. Now, I've cooked on 1,000-gallon offsets, 500s, all the way down to tiny, sheet metal thin backyard offset smokers that you can get at a big box hardware store. But the most important thing is fire management. And the one thing that people don't really ever address when it comes to fire management is the size of the splits that you use. So, for most backyard offsets, the appropriate size of splits is something like 2 inches in diameter by about 8 or 9 inches in length. That will give you sustained heating and give you the right kind of flavor so you can burn a clean fire but still full of flavor. That's my best advice for somebody who's new to an offset smoker. Again, congratulations, and I look forward to seeing some cooks with your new pit.
So now that we're armed with some great tips and tricks, let me tell you about some of the upcoming videos I'll be working on. So early on, as I mentioned, I'm going to do a complete review of the Smoke North offset that I've picked up in a future video, along with some data logging. That's been my go-to anytime I get a new grill, is just trying to understand what's going on in the cook chamber. So we've got a couple fun experiments lined up, along with our first few cooks. So let me know what you'd like to see. Brisket, ribs, pulled pork, all of the above. You let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to add that to the spring content list. That's about it for today though. So if you enjoyed this video, please let YouTube know by smashing that thumbs up button and let me know by hitting subscribe to catch those future videos. That's it for today. I'm James from Smokin' Dad BBQ signing off. Remember, don't be afraid to fire it up.